Excellent. Wow. To begin with, let me just say, I think the number of comments I saw on the chat window about how beautifully you have identified the landscape and the different opportunities is fantastic. So thank you so much, Brian, for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me see if there are any specific questions. So first of all, let me ask the question to a few of the folks who are asking questions on the professional career opportunities. Was that answered? If not,
Adarsh, there's been a background echo. Yeah.
is that from me? I'm on a.
Yeah.
Okay.
If others can mute, would be really helpful. Thanks.
So there's a question from Ajit is the first one I'm seeing. This question is on a healthcare organization. As mentioned, security concerns, data loss or breakage, regulatory compliance, etc., are some of the top concerns of organizing space also. How is Azure Cloud Migration Tools Framework governance policies help this? So I think that question may be for Derek, but Brian, I'm sorry, this is the first question I saw.
That's actually the question probably for three of us. So
yes, actually, why don't we open it up?
This is a big topic. We can address from different perspectives, right? So
let's open it up. Let's do a panel session right now, and let me ask questions to all three of you. Each of you can actually jump in and answer the questions whenever you guys want to do it. Okay, let's do it. So the first question, Brian, over to you.
I actually want to refer to Derek because Azure is like a Microsoft product, right? So I like to hear the Derek also. I like to learn. I can provide my perspective, but I'd really like to hear Derek's insight for that one.
Derek, are you there?
I'm here. Can you restate that question for me?
Sure. Just a minute. Let me see. Okay, this question is on a healthcare organization. As mentioned, security concerns, data loss or leakage, regulatory compliance, etc., are some of the top concerns for organizations in the space. How is Azure Cloud Migration Tools, frameworks, and governance policies help the organization in this space? Any success stories that you can share?
Yeah, so I don't focus on healthcare. I do apologize. I'm more at the federal level. Although provincially healthcare, I've heard a lot of successes around migration. Some of the frameworks that I've heard are more around the control and investigation around the framework as I look to migrate the workload. So where are the interoperabilities? Where are the control points? What's the identity access management, the RBAC? They all go in fairly prescriptive length around how to take a workload, understand the ancillary temporal pull-through services, how it's leveraged, how to containerize and port it. Not that containerizing from the literal sense, but how do I take that chunk then and migrate it up and fully understand the dependencies and interoperabilities? Those are part of the migration framework.
And Ali, I just posted a link, which is basically a cloud and AI for cybersecurity in healthcare. So you can actually have a look into that link, which has a whole bunch of success stories.
So in addition, Adarsh, if I may, right? So one of the things that, what was the name of the gentleman?
Ali.
Ali, so one of the things that you would notice is that if you go to Microsoft Trust Center, you should be able to extract a lot of information from there. But in addition to that, all the frameworks, when you talk about HIPAA, when you talk about GDPR, when you talk about other privacy-related frameworks or other industry-specific frameworks, you would notice, Ali, that most of them actually cross-connect and intersect in majority of the places, right? Rather than developing something on your own, if you leverage one of these existing frameworks, you would see that you would be able to map most of the controls. And Azure provides most of the controls, almost all the controls you need to move your data, to move your environment from your on-prem to cloud, right? So I'm not a HIPAA expert, but I'm a no expert at all. But if you take any privacy-related environment, you should be able to leverage whatever you can do there and leverage that on HIPAA. And on Azure Security Center, you can actually create rule sets and maybe even export a HIPAA compliance policy.
Excellent. I'm sorry, Ajit, that question was from you, not from Ali. So my
Ajit.
apologies. Okay, so let me just go up because there were some questions broadly for this open panel. The first question which came up was from, where is it? I'm sorry, I should have noted this down. Okay, let's see, Vishal.
Others, while you're looking at it,
Yeah.
I just wanted to relate the community to a question that is related to the cybersecurity. Brian, this is more for you. Wow, I would basically repeat what others said. Wow, it was an excellent presentation, and I strongly believe it opened up a lot of enlightenment, like your company's name, for many people to start thinking from that cybersecurity career point of view. So from the Testopper organization, we primarily focus, I told you, we primarily focus on automation, intelligent automation, and help improve the testing and operation skills, Testopper, right? So that's how the name came into the existence. So it's about developing that skill, not about tester and DevOps, right? It's about developing that skill, and that skill is required even for the business person, developers, designers, architect, and all the way, which would enable in delivering the high quality products, right? So just to set the base. Now, in your presentation, you kind of mentioned about the testing as one category, right? And then you also mentioned about operations, SOC as another category. So what I understood, these are the two categories this testing and operation skills will fit in. And is that understanding correct? And if it is, what kind of designations that the people out here, in these two fields would actually look for when searching the jobs?
And the domains, the 8 domains really is for your reference, because that's kind of from exam, like a certification point of view, right? So
Okay.
it's like an arbitrary divided this. And in real life, like a Drew, in your case, or I'm sure Derek, you probably cross quite many domains. It's not like you're only working 100% in the domain. You have to cross this. Probably you have one domain as your primary focus, but you must have 2 or 3 related to that. For example, you talk about test and assessment, right? So although this is probably your major domain, you may also have the software development domain working with you. Otherwise, how do you test, right? And another part is you must understand the security risk management, the requirements. Otherwise, where are your requirements from? And you may also consider the security operation. So how do I automate the process and make that as a DevSecOps process, right? So although this is one domain you focus on, you probably need to know at least 2 or 3 other domains. And job title, of course, more focus on specific job areas, but you need to have a little bit broader understanding of the overall things.
I mean, it really aligns to our, word that we normally refer, creative talent, right? So you can be talented in one thing, but you need to know additional things to really become a creative talent. That's what you are basically reflecting here with your thoughts. Thanks a lot, Brain, for answering that question.
Excellent. Yes, sir. So Brian and yeah.
Yes, sorry, just to, there was a question on the HIPAA and the control mapping and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to interrupt the whole presentation. In Azure, we have a feature called Azure Blueprints that has got pre-built control configuration for multiple different areas of security and compliance, FedRAMP, as well as HIPAA, ISO. I copied the link on the chat window. Feel free to go and look at it. So it's basically a service within Azure that helps you implement some of the controls. Over to you, Adarsh. I just want to add that point. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So one question which came for all the 3 panelists was, what is DevSecOps? How is it implemented? And what are the tools and what are the challenges in implementing it? So in this case, Dhruv, do you want to kickstart the answer? That's a separate presentation, but let's try and keep it brief. So we'll definitely have a separate session on this, but let's just have a discussion around this for people who are on the call. Mm-hmm.
Sure. So quickly put, DevSecOps, DevOps, started off with DevOps. So essentially, traditionally, what used to happen, you would have change management procedures, you would have segregation, you would have people who would code, there would be a stamp of approval required. You would take it to a third party who would say, yeah, all of this makes sense. But now everything can be automated via code, because we are talking about infrastructure as code, we are talking about policy as code, and everything can be coded. And people who are in the automation side or the testing side, you would notice that a lot of work has been done by automation and coding. Now, when you create this automation coding from end to end, from development of the environment to actually deployment of the environment, it goes through something called a CI/CD pipeline. Which is continuous integration and continuous development pipeline, that thereby allowing high velocity while providing all set of controls to be implemented before it goes from test to UAT to production. And all of this combined together is called DevOps. Now, when you start talking about compliance as code, and you implement those compliance as code into your CI/CD pipeline, that becomes DevSecOps, because your security is actually coded. It is not something that you implement outside, because if you recall, firewalls, when you implemented a server and implemented an application, you would call people in the firewall side and say, hey, can you enable or disable these firewalls? Can you make sure that certain controls are implemented or not implemented? You would have to call IAM team to say, can you give certain service access to certain applications? But all of that can be now coded. So that is what DevSecOps is in my head. I'm sure Derek and Brian have more brilliant responses on this.
Brian, do you want to go next?
And that's perfect. That's definitely what Drew described is especially from technology perspective, everything is code right now, the infrastructure, which actually cloud enable that one. Otherwise, if we don't have a cloud, we don't even talk about that. Because my background is a developer. I was a software developer for many years, also working at the bank. So I know all those pains about developer. Also, we always have a certain fight with the testers, QA team, right? So all those things. So now we need to get along with each other. But on the other side is, DevOps, SecDevOps, or DevSecOps, or whatever it is, it's also a process. Well, when we say process, it's not just a technology component, but also human component. So you have to have people understand, really buy in this process or the philosophy of this one. Just like agile project management, you have to buy in that agile way of doing things, which you encounter a lot of roadblocks while you're implementing that. Right. So really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which technology or the process or things, it's a people work on that. Right. So you have to have people really understand this process. Right? So which also back to the talent part. Doesn't matter which technology you're using, you have to have people understand that technology truly and implement it to maximize the benefit of that technology.
Excellent. Yeah. Derek.
I put a couple of examples in from an operational IT perspective of where we apply this from a policy or infrastructure as a code example. So the Canadian government, who I mentioned I work extensively with, I pasted in a link there, Canadian Guardrails for Azure, which is in many cases policy or infrastructure as a code. As Krishna was alluding to, other platform or HIPAA or controls related. We worked extensively with CCCS, as you mentioned, cyber.gc.ca, to take the Canadian PBMM blueprints and build them in as a platform control. Link is in the page as well. And these are other ways that we leverage DevOps, SecOps, SecDevOps as a way of controlling that cyber domain. Risk has clearly shown that there are challenges in the traditional way of the waterfall type of approval process. And if we can automate code, SDL, vulnerability assessment, we actually bring the human risk variable down, which is also identified as the top risk in deployment for production. So, work in dev, work in test where you're not worried about the data, the classifications, mature your DevSecOps process. And really what it is automating deployment. At a high level, it's automating the deployment of something, of an artifact or a component of a production environment, which may include identity, storage, infrastructure, or a firewall, but making sure whether it's done 1, 2, or a billion times, it's done the same way every time.
Excellent. Thank you so much. The next question, now this question was actually asked in the beginning. I'm just going to reiterate that question. What about zero trust? Does that mean in future I do need a vault to store my keys? Does that mean in the future I will not have permanent password and or an account? I'd like to hear from all the experts.
I don't think your vaults go anywhere. That might have been a misunderstanding. I said drawbridge and moats, to be clear. In my part of the presentation, whether it's the vault that's my TPM that's storing my TLS DSK certificate for authentication, or my hardware security vault, or my VSM mode on Windows 10, the vaults, the control, those mechanisms, whether physical, logical, virtual, are still going to be integral as part of the overall cyber posture. But it is a tool that will be leveraged in a zero trust model when I'm designing, for instance, that vault on the device that I want to make sure is tamper-proof, resilient, resistant, and I can have a high assurance that it is what it is, and I have a validation and attestation of that. Those vaults are not necessarily going anywhere. I would say they're actually going to get better. You know, another example would be enclaves, which I could also argue is a type of a vault. We've seen huge influxes in the CPU, Ice Lake and Starship. Having the ability of having vaults on CPUs in order to do computation so there's no clear analysis or decrypted information outside the CPU. No, I think on many levels, whether it be development, hardware, you know, we haven't even talked about quantum. That's another story altogether. Those vaults and control mechanisms are going to become even more important as we move to a distributed environment.
Excellent. Dhruva, Brian, any insights on that? Any thoughts?
And we actually, as some people know me, I'm also the organizer for Cyber Tech and Risk. We had several events on the zero trust related. We actually have industry vendors like those major players like CyberArk, like BeyondTrust, like Centrify, and all those are the major vendors. They and Illumino, so they pretty much settled down for this zero trust framework. Of course, they address that from different angle. Some of maybe from a micro segmentation, some of maybe from the cloud identity, all those things. And there zero trust also evolving, right? So Microsoft also promoting zero trust. In fact, next Thursday when we have our virtual event, there's one Microsoft person coming to talk about zero trust. So there's also generation of zero trust, right? So it's not like a one day, right? So, but all those technology has their certain values. Really depends on the context, right? Depends on your usage. I have a very powerful like a power saw or whatever things, but I only have a small pieces want to cut. So it really depends on how do you apply those technologies and your current or we talk about legacy systems. So if you have a lot of things on premise, it's not on the cloud, what do you handle that way? So those are the situations you also need to consider.
Excellent. Sorry, anyone else?
Others, yeah, can I? Brian, I mean, I've been monitoring the chat. There has been a lot of questions related to the career, right? And I know that you run Career Center for Cybersecurity.
Right.
So how can you help the Testoper community members to address those kind of questions, online or offline, whichever way, because I see a lot of interest around that.
Right. So the platform we are building actually right now is called, I share the website called enlightening.com. So we will put more things. The purpose really is to help you to, especially for cyber career. And another initiative we're actually running right now is called Enlightening Moment. It's a weekly session on the cyber career related topics. So typically it's every Wednesday evening. So initially I will be there. Actually, we already finished two sessions upcoming, more related to job hunting, resume, cyber, what kind of a job I can get, like what kind of insights from cybersecurity. So if you're interested in that, I encourage you to take a look at those things.
Yeah. So is there a place, in Microsoft Teams, we normally put our partners and they put all the things that they do for the community members to get benefit out of. Right. Because that's one of the principle of our community. We really want our community members to, is there something that you have that we can actually post it as a web
we
page
actually
in the
plan
Teams?
to use a Slack. We're kind of debating Slack and Microsoft Teams. Sorry, Microsoft is debating Slack and Microsoft Team. So, but we pretty much will leverage both to do that one. And this platform is actually increasing. Cyber Career Center also, we have our newsletter, all those things, and you can subscribe. We also have all kind of learning programs. So Drew and I actually did the cyber cloud security expansion learning on the Azure, right? So great success. We have quite many people join, and the feedback, and 3 people actually got a job right after that.
So, I really want the Testopro community members to take benefit of that. Right? So my question was more of, Brian, do you have a list of resources that you can provide it to us, and we can create a page in the Teams for your, enlightenment or whatever for the community members to come over to you.
Good suggestion. So actually, we will kind of create some reference things, right? So feel free to share and post on the.
Yeah, exactly. We do that for Brampton promotions, Microsoft promotions, right? All the partners promotions, we do that. So that way the community members can. I just wanted to highlight Sarah, she's been very particular in one particular question about her career. Sarah, I asked this questions basically, reflecting to your question. We will get the details from Brian, and we will share it in the Microsoft Teams so that you can actually go back to Brian and discuss, if you wanted to discuss more detail about your career path. All right. Okay, over to you, Apurva. Sorry, Adarsh.
So one more career-related question. This is interesting, actually, and I think it's going to encourage a lot of discussion. This is more like a comment, but I'm going to turn it into a question. We as IT, this was from Ali, if I remember correctly, we as IT are actively replacing everybody's job, including ours, with automation, ML, and AI that are capable of self-learning, enhancing, and basically grow. Discuss.
With Skynet?
This actually comes up in every meetup, right? Automation. For me, from Testopro, at least point of view, we always refer a word called as workforce of future, right? So if you don't want to become a workforce of future, then you got to be really scared about this, whatever the question has been asked. If you are preparing yourself to become as a workforce of the future, you don't have to really worry about this particular question. That's my simple answer. Become a creative talent and become a workforce of the future. You have a bright future. Otherwise, yes, you have to worry about this question.
Don't fear change. I agree.
Yeah, so that's a perfect answer, Kadar. I think one of the podcasts I recently listened, so people, of course, not directly with cybersecurity, people just think about COVID-19 changing the whole landscape, and people are worried about future business things, right? So many people say, okay, for my career, I don't see the future about my career. Well, it doesn't matter which career, the things, right? And the host actually comment out, if you don't see the future, you create the future.
Nice.
Right, so let's think about that one. So think about it, of course, to each person is a different meanings, but create your future.
Yeah. Right. I strongly believe in that. I have discussed that multiple times with others. She knows that. Create your own way, own path.
Yeah.
And I really don't think people are going to lose jobs because of automation. I think people will leverage that and get other opportunities that they would be successful in. Automation has been happening since the beginning of time. There were times when people only drank water when they walked to 50 kilometers or 50 miles away to bring a pail of water. And then automation happened, and now we can turn on our tap and drink water straight. Did people who used to bring water lose their jobs? No, they actually did something different. And that has happened since 1800s, industrialization. It's happening today, but we have found other ways to improve our careers and our functional capabilities, right? So I don't think anybody should be worried about it. But if you're lazy, then you should be worried about anything and everything, right? So there are a lot of opportunities, and I think opportunities will only increase with such automation.
Absolutely. Okay, so looks like I've covered most of the questions. I think, Brian, you covered a whole bunch of the questions around the career during your presentation as well. As I'm skipping. So for people who ask questions which are career related, if you feel it's unanswered, feel free to come off mute. And if not, one thing I request, if most of you, whoever is comfortable with it, no compulsion, if at all you can come on video, then I just want to see how many videos fit into the screen. I just want to take a screenshot as a good memory.
Is there a feature to do that? I don't know. I always saw like 2 or 3 videos. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see who else comes online. And I don't know how many can be fit. Is it only 9 or more than 9? I know there were talks about 36 of them to come in. I don't know whether it's rolled out into the version that I'm seeing right now or not, but it looks like it's 9 of them. Okay, cool.
Oh, the version
And please complete the survey if you can. We like to collect your valuable feedback and make this program more intuitive next time. And thank you so much for all the speakers.
Excellent. Okay.
So let's take, there's one more person, but the video is not coming. Something like snap camera.
Yeah,
What
so
is that?
can you, operations test over, can you just go off on that one? Because your snap camera does have a problem. I have the same problem. So you need to go to your device settings and change from snap camera to front camera settings, but that's fine.
Yeah, let's take one good picture. Yeah, we need one more
There you go.
person to joining in.
Yes. Sandeep, if at all you can just come online. Yeah, there you go. Sarah's there. Perfect. Okay, everyone smile. And that's a happy family. All right. Okay, awesome. Got it.
Right. Perfect. I think we are over 8 minutes,
Yeah.
Adarsh.
Yeah.
So should we, obviously I know that there's a lot of pending questions. I'm going to make sure that Direct, Dhruv, and Brian joining our teams and answering some of the questions moving forward, right? And we'll also make sure that those that are unanswered is also being answered through emails or whatever, right? We'll make sure that is done. Anything else, Adarsh, from your end, from the logistics before we can close this?
No, I think I'm good. If I'm missing something, please.
No, you're good. From the speakers, I'd like to give a floor for the speakers to say any final words.
That was great. Thanks so much for having us. I think it was a great topic. There seemed to be a lot of energy and enthusiasm based on the interaction engagement from the audience. So I look forward to circling back with you folks and maybe providing some additional insights on some of those topics. I think we have a lot to talk about.
Perfect.
Thank you, everybody. Brian? Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed it. And I'm sure that I'll be here to respond to any of your questions. I may not be able to do it immediately. You guys can find me on LinkedIn. I promise I'll try my best to respond one way or the other. But if I'm slightly delayed, because I do get a lot of questions and responses and other engagements, do not mind. But I'm here to assist in any which way. Thank you.
I have your phone number, Dhruv. Brian, please.
Yeah, so I had a really good time today, and also thank you for the organizers. It's very organized because I'm also organizing a lot of meetup things, so I can see this group is very well organized, and you have a lot of support. So kudos to the organizers, and of course Microsoft as well, City of Brampton. So all those great players there. So I also enjoyed the talk today. Cybersecurity is I would say lucrative market and a great opportunity. And if you think about, it doesn't matter, it's a career opportunity, business opportunity, or whatever other opportunity, try to put that under your radar, right? So, and oftentimes you will find that will put you on the fast track of things. And maybe bypass a lot of competitors, or maybe bypass a lot of roadblocks and help you to enter the faster track. So that's the thing I want. And of course, connect with us and our website, all things. I'm also on LinkedIn. And yeah, so happy to share my insights and talk to you in the near future.
Thank you very, very much, Brian. I mean, it relates to what you have been telling, right? From the point of view of, the cybersecurity is like a glue, right? And it cuts through horizontally across anything, whether it is an industry, sector, technology, tools, products, it cuts through horizontally completely, right? And it is a glue, and I don't think that anyone can escape from it. And it is an industry that everyone should learn and become expert of. Thanks a lot for joining us as speakers for this session. And thanks a lot, Adarsh, being a great facilitator of this session. I don't think anyone else would have done it better than what you did today.
Thank you so
So one
much.
of the key reason, Brian, why this event is well organized, reflecting to your comment, right? And also, I like to, at this moment, thank all our attendees. I mean, taking time over the weekend, and we had consistent of 100 throughout, people attending, right? Up and down, but 100 on an average throughout. That was remarkable. I actually see them not anymore have to worry about, automation taking the jobs, because they are already in the phase of continuously learning and developing their skills. I'm very happy about it. I also like to thank all the supporters, volunteers, and advisors. If I have to name, probably it's going to take another 10 minutes. Everyone, thank you very much, and thanks everyone for joining and making this event a wonderful, and a remarkable event for all of us. Take care, and you guys have a great afternoon. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.